Hello and welcome to Capacity TV. My name is Saf Malik. I am the Senior Content and Insights Manager at Capacity. I'm here today at ITW 2026 with Jeff Collins, who is the CEO at Sxalable. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Jeff, first question, can you start by introducing yourself and your company?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jeff Collins. I'm the founder of Sxalable, and Sxalable's a routing as a service company. And we really aim to revolutionize the way routing operates across the globe, whether it's within carrier networks or within enterprises.
And you talk about the router market. Why is that largely unchanged?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you think about the routing market, really we've had the same routing infrastructure for the past 40 years. The only change that we've really ever seen has been the enhancements from a hardware perspective so that we can push more packets through a router. Maybe that's ASICs based, maybe that's CPU based, maybe that's interface based, going from 1 gig interfaces or OC48 type interfaces up to 100 gig, 400 gig, 800 gig, etc. The reality is, though, the needs of the market don't necessarily align with the requirements of these routers. These routers are built to be in these big monolithic facilities, centrally located. All of us see what that looks like around the globe. We put them in carrier POPs. We put them in these centralized locations. But the reality is, in today's ecosystem, customers need routers directly where workloads exist. And the current form factor of them, generally speaking hardware-based or orchestrated software, don't align with those requirements. Whether those requirements are IoT, OT, this whole era of AI, or if we look from an industry sector perspective, manufacturing, healthcare, banking, where routing and security need to be pushed out to the edge and be able to align directly with those workloads.
And for someone that's kind of not familiar with the concept of routing as a service, how would you explain that in plain terms?
Yeah. So routing as a service, much like we see in the SaaS market, is this ability to consume a router at the time that you need that router and for the period that you need that router. So you might need a router for a minute. You might need a router for a year. You might need a router for 3 years. It doesn't really matter. The concept is be able to consume that, leverage it, be billed for it based upon the time commitment that you need, and then be able to turn that down within the existing capabilities that you have as a business. So if you leverage CI/CD for deployment, or you have some level of automation, or you don't even have automation, you can still use the same platform regardless of where you are in your journey across the board.
And you're seeing strong interest in the product before you've marketed it. What is driving that?
So the biggest interest that we see it in a couple of distinct areas. Certainly the IoT and OT market are driving a lot of this. We're seeing a lot of success with carriers because of this. Carriers are continuing to see more and more stresses put into their networks because of these environments. You think about small packets per second, large amounts of senders, the necessity to get to these locations with small circuitry, small form factors, really anywhere in the globe, and be able to have this ubiquitous structure that allows you to provide a service directly to your end users. We see that, like I said, in the carrier space. We also see that in the system integrator space, the people that are engaging directly with those carriers to be able to support and to be able to deploy those individual services.
And you've trialed Sxalable with 15 companies across carriers, data centers, IoT, and enterprises. What has the feedback told you?
Yeah, so the feedback has given us a couple of things. One thing that we did when we first built this platform, we really focused on fleet management. That was really the first key. And a lot of people ask, well, what is fleet management and why do I need that? The reality is today, if you're a carrier, you have a defined set of routers that you support. Those routers can be within your carrier core. Those can be out to your carrier edge. Think about a small regional or a small local POP that you might have. It might be out to a stand out in the middle of a neighborhood or wherever those might be. But you also have routers oftentimes at your customer premise. What happens, though, in this new era, when we think about AI, we think about IoT, we think about OT, within that era, we really have this ecosystem where we need to have routers everywhere, but we need to have the same capabilities of managing them like we had a small set of routers. And so when we first built this, we really focused on the fleet management component, not orchestrating a single router like what we have today in the industry. We have these software packages where I can configure one router, I can build a template, I can build a policy. What we're really talking about is declarative architecture.
Mhm.
So for many customers, they're familiar with the concepts of Kubernetes. Kubernetes did the same thing for containers. Now, while we don't require Kubernetes, we don't leverage Kubernetes, the same concepts of declarative infrastructure and the ability to manage large amounts of routers, whether it's 1, 50,000, a million, you can manage them all with a single architecture and with a single platform. The second piece is, and what we've learned is, we learned that one of the big requests that we had is this ability to take not only the fleet managed piece, but also the ability to secure it. And not just secure the router, but really provide a security context for those workloads. So you think about zero trust, you think about segmentation, you think about security sensors. That was one of the biggest requests that we had, and so we've added those capabilities into the product. We embedded native security sensors directly into the product, the ability to pull that security context in, and the ability to leverage that so that customers can not only have those route capabilities, but also those security routes.
Jeff, fascinating to hear about the company. What's next for you guys?
So what's really next for us is that continued growth within the market. We're going directly after a lot of carriers to help push this. Our mentality is that the industry right now is at this perfect catalyst point for disruption. You think about the industry itself is, we've got IoT driving, we've got AI driving, we've got all these pieces where these core capabilities need to be pushed at scale. And so as we think forward, we really see that we're positioned for growth. We see that the future of routing is scalable, and we're really there to help take routing inside of the carrier ecosystem, especially within ITW, where it makes a ton of sense. We have the largest carriers around the globe here in one building, and really taking that to help differentiate those carriers and differentiate those providers for tomorrow, and make routing something that is really special instead of just something that is as simple in many regards as a pipe. That's the reality of what we often see in carrier networks today. And tomorrow it really needs to be something much more.
Jeff, great discussion. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Capacity TV.